Welcome to Dance Unscripted. I am your host, Amy Elizabeth. We are joined today by Billy Hawkins III. Billy is a dynamic performer, choreographer, and educator who made history as the first full-time Black professor in the Department of Dance at Kennesaw State University. Billy holds an MFA in dance choreography from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro and a BFA in dance performance from the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. He is one of the only 3 certified master teachers of safety release, which I am dying to know more about. And he also serves as the artistic advisor for Dance Canvas and on the community advisory board for the Black Artists Dance Collective. I am so glad that you have joined us today for this unique conversation with Billy. Billy brings with him a belief that how we move and how we learn to move shapes not only our technical development, but our capacity to navigate challenges and change both in and beyond the studio. Well, Billy, you have my attention. So welcome to the show and thank you for being with us for this vital conversation.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. This is so amazing. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, I am as well. So let's get straight into it. You state your investment lies in practices that center the body as a site of knowledge, transformation, and resilience. Can we take a moment to explain what that looks like? What does it mean for the body to be a site of knowledge?
Yeah, our bodies hold so much knowledge, right? We are literally vessels, right? So we can be poured into and we can pour out. And the things that are being poured into us, that's our experiences. That's the things that we hold, right? If you have a very good experience, your body is going to hold that information. If you have a not so good experience, likewise, your body is going to remember that. And not only is it going to remember those experiences, those happenings, it's going to store a particular physical response. That's why, for instance, when if someone comes across a familiar situation or something that reminds them of an event that happened to them, sometimes the body might tighten up or it might release, it might soften. Whenever I see my mother, because my body has stored the knowledge of her love and her care, when I see her, my body softens. I can be going through a bad day and I see my mother, I see my father, I see my loved ones. My body has knowledge of who they are, what they've been to me, and it reacts physically. The same thing happens when we go through maybe not so good things. If we, I on Christmas Eve some years ago, I got into a terrible accident. I'm still here,
Mm,
thankfully.
yes,
But
thank you.
whenever I'm on the road now, I can be just driving in my car, and when I start to feel like a car driving too close to me in the back, my body tightens up because
Mhm.
it remembers that moment. So our bodies are very intelligent. They hold not only then what we go through, but the impact. That's the knowledge, the impact
Mhm.
that it had on us. I had a graduate professor once say to me, it was a research class, and she says, "We have enough history. Our bodies have more than enough history. Now, of course, we have to do all the important things, citing our sources, looking up those things and all of that. But we can't escape, or at least we shouldn't escape what we
Mhm.
already know because we live, we go through things, we experience things, and that is the knowledge in which that we hold. And then to your second question, or I don't know if you, because I don't know if you asked this already, but it's that working, right? All of
Mhm.
that working and all of that coming together. That actually then helps us or determines how we then exist, or as I often say, and I tell my students, how we be in the
Mhm.
world, because we are aware that we're also not just going through things for nothing. It's giving us a way in which to live and to exist and to have a particular perception and perspective on the world.
Absolutely. We've been talking on this podcast a lot about the whole body experience, the whole person paradigm. coming into each situation that we engage with and understanding that our physical being is a part of that whole person. The body is included in that person, and the body has that information, and whether we're conscious of it or not, we are bringing that energy, that movement, the memory into each and every situation with us. It's just fascinating to hear it spoken in that way. So, as the intro stated, you are one of only 3 people who are certified in safety release. And I'm going to admit my ignorance. I've never heard of this technique before. I am intrigued. So please tell me, what is safety release?
You are definitely not alone. Definitely not alone. A lot of people when they hear safety release, like, wait, what is that? What? Like,
Mhm,
oh my god, I need to know. I absolutely love safety release. So safety release is a dance technique, of course, but
mhm,
dance technique and a movement modality is which is that's what we really call it. That was created by my mentor BJ Sullivan. She goes by BJ, but her name is Elizabeth Sullivan, and she
mhm,
is a professor at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. That's where I got my MFA, and that's where I started to study this wonderful technique called safety release. And she started to generate this technique when she was choreographing in New York and all over the world. And she started to notice that dancers were having a challenge around learning her choreography. So she goes, okay, what can we do to have the dancers tap into this kind of moving and this kind of expression? And, of course, you can think, well, let's just repeat, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. But she thought there has to be maybe another way to get the dancers to connect on a deeper level to what they are physically doing. So that was really the genesis of safety release. The name didn't come until she was asked to actually teach a class in New York, and she didn't have a name. And she said, well, okay, well, it's kind of it's really based in release techniques, contemporary release techniques. She studied Alexander technique, these kind of somatic techniques. She studied Feldenkrais, Skinner release technique, Klein technique. So it was a lot of release. That's her research, a lot of release.
mhm,
And then the safety part comes from an actual principle within the technique called the safety foot. Some they may not know that name, recognize that name, but if you ever see videos where dancers they might jump into the air and they don't land on the flatness of their foot, but they land maybe on the top part, that is what we call safety foot. And the premise and point of this movement modality is all about efficiency. It's about
mhm,
how can you move in the way that you move efficiently. And so we think about where movement actually happens. So going back to, her choreographing and trying to get the dancers to, grow in their ability to do this. Well, let's think about how you're actually doing the movement. What's necessary, what's being used. So the work, as much release work does, it focuses on the bones, the joints, the skeletal system, and it's how do you access efficiency through knowledge of your body, the joints, where movement happens, and then as the work developed, it started to include a lot of work along the floor.
mhm,
And so it then began to develop into using your body in an efficient way to get in and out of the floor and move through space. And one of the unique things about this technique is that it continues to evolve. So, as BJ often says, this safety release is whatever those who teach it develop it to be.
mhm,
So, you mentioned that there are only 3 master teachers. And so me being a master teacher, we all know the foundation, right? We all know the
mhm,
foundation of the word, but and I have my approach that may differ from KT, another safety release master teacher, or Caitlin Strader, right? We all know the foundational principles of this technique, but we teach it in different ways. But the main point is efficiency, and how do you exist in your body and not some ideal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We see this a lot more in our contemporary work. Yes, for those of us who are, for lack of better terms, classically trained in more of the concert art, being ballet, modern, etc. We see this a lot more in the contemporary approaches to these art forms, coming from an expressive side, again, bringing that whole person and whole body, trying to be yourself in this actualization of the movement versus trying to be something else, something outside of yourself. And you mentioned that the one thing that all of you have is the foundation of the principles of this technique. Are they codified like a 1, 2, 3, 4? These are our base principles. And if so, could you tell us a little bit more about what those principles are specific to safety release?
Yeah, so they continue to grow. What I love about this work is they we continue to find out what these principles are as
Mm-hmm.
we each go out and we teach. You know, I'm based in Georgia, the others in North Carolina and Chicago, and they continue to evolve. But there are these kind of guiding principles that it's kind of like our non-negotiables, if you will, like the things that
Yes.
we hold core. And one being what I had just mentioned about existing within your body, right? Showing up as you. That if you want to see any kind of development, any type of growth, well, you are in the body that wants to grow. So you have to then go deep inside yourself and think about, where am I? How am I? That's very important. How am I? And growing in a deeper sense of connection to who you are and where you want to go, but starting at the basis of you.
Mm-hmm.
Another principle that we live by is we kind of put it under the umbrella is just articulation and whatever that may be. So on the physical side, right, it is the articulation of the body.
Mm-hmm.
So really knowing what is happening whenever movement is going on, right? And this is why the somatic part is so important, in that we actually spend the first 30 minutes of every class going through a somatic practice, because
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to rush the process of getting to whatever we think a technique class needs to get to. It's very important that we're able to articulate how our body, how my body, Billy's body is moving, how the person next to me, how their body is moving. And so we really take our time to think through the physicality of the body. And there's a whole set of exercises that kind of aid and support that. And that's what I really love about the technique, is that there's no rush to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no kind of, I have to get to this. It's just about sensing. And so that brings me to the last one, is awareness. It's always about being aware at every given moment. Can you be aware of what you are doing, how you're doing it, and why you are doing it, which spills into so much. It spills into so much beyond just the physical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to swing back around to this word somatic. And you mentioned this idea of somatics and somatic awareness. So, what does it mean? Well, first of all, can you define somatics for our audience? And then what it means to be a somatically aware person, dancer, artist?
Yeah. So somatics, in a nutshell, is going from the inside out, or working from the inside out. So it is not about appearances as much
Mm-hmm.
as it is about sensation, right? What
Okay.
are you
Yeah.
feeling, and where is that coming from? Right. So that's also why somatics is not just about it doesn't put dominance on the physicality of it all, like how something actually looks, but it is about what is happening on the inside on a deeper level, and what are you feeling. And so a somatic, I'll start with a somatic dancer, right? Because we're talking about
Yes.
dancer, what we love.
Yeah.
A somatic dancer, someone who is somatic, and BJ will always say this. She's like, if you do leg swings, I could do a leg swing combination, which is very present in techniques or dance classes that have a presence of somatics, we could do leg swings, but you can just swing your leg to one side to the other. But a dancer who is being somatic, working from the inside out, is being curious about the mechanics and how this thing is actually playing out, that they
Mm-hmm.
are sensing where the modality, where the movement is coming from, and all of the things that surrounding just that one moment of just doing a leg swing. Someone who a somatic dancer, they're not worried about perfectionism. They know
Mm-hmm.
that the process is more important than the product, and that the product can always change. The product being a goal, right? That it can
Mm-hmm.
shift from class to class, from month to month, whatever. That they are more excited, if you will, more excited about the process than they are about the product. And in general, a somatic person, I was actually thinking about this before this podcast, is someone who is always just curious. They're just curious. Like I was actually cleaning up my apartment before this and kind of moving some things around, and I started to realize that, oh, I typically always use my dominant hand to
Yeah.
do X, Y, and Z, right? I do this a lot also when I'm driving. I'm like, oh, I'm left-handed. Oh, I always use my left hand. Um, Now that right there is somatics. That is because I'm not just doing, but I'm noticing what I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually doing. And the important part, and I guess this could be the last thing I mention, is that it's not coupled with any kind of judgment. Right. So I notice that I
Mm-hmm.
use my left hand a lot, and I go, oh, okay. I use my left hand a lot. Now, I could make a decision to use my right hand, or I can just notice that my left hand is always reaching for that book or moving, the first hand to touch the couch to move it. I can just notice it. So, all in all, a somatic dancer or a somatic person is someone who is just constantly in a state of curiosity, constantly in a state of just being aware, not necessarily trying to judge anything, fix anything really, um,
Mm-hmm.
and someone who is just along for the journey, the process of learning or whatever it is that they may be in.
So then my next question to that would be, how does this approach, this curiosity or not worried about the product but the process and the how does this inform, for lack of better words, the technical rigor of dance training? Like, how does this shift the student in the room itself? Because we're asking the student to approach their education through a different lens. I mean, you're still doing the leg swings, right? We're all in the same room, we're all doing the
Right,
same leg
right.
swings, but we're
Uh huh.
asking them to approach it differently. So, how does this inform them in their experience?
Yeah, one way is that they start to, their perspective around what training is begins to
Mhm.
shift. Because a lot of times, dancers, at least dancers, especially young dancers that I've worked with, they have this mindset that a technique class has to have these components that we have to get to. We got to, have a warm up, have whatever exercises, and then we got to get to jumps and all of that. But this kind of approach to technique actually helps them slow down and actually think differently about how they are learning, and then it actually connects them on a deeper level with, again, their bodies and their training.
Mhm.
So, sure, I could just say let's go 5, 6, 7, 8 leg swings and that's it. But if we're actually taking our time to break things down, if we're taking our time to really sense things, you're actually that to me, that's a better route of growing any kind of rigor. Right.
Mhm.
I often say this, like in choreography. If I were to do something very fast, if the choreography is very fast, it's not really just about let's move very fast, as much as it's about knowing how to access just even a little bit quicker whatever movement, whatever gesture, whatever it is just how do you use the basis of whatever the choreography is, the whatever the smallest version of it. How do you use that? Right, you may be moving, have to move a bit quicker, but it's how do you actually exist along your own journey of learning, and that takes patience, and it takes a different mindset. You have to go, okay, there actually is no clock. I don't actually
Mm,
have to be somewhere at a particular time. And if I actually want to develop and express a certain level of rigor, it's actually better to know what's all working in order to produce whatever kind of level of rigor I want.
hmm Yeah. So you also mentioned that safety release disrupts traditional hierarchies in dance training. So you've experienced these traditional hierarchies. You've danced many of our postmodern pioneers' works, such as Merce Cunningham, Paul Taylor. You went through a traditional, I'm assuming a traditional BFA program before you found BJ in this MFA practice. And so, how does safety release differ from these practices? And
Yeah,
kind of
that's a
what are, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question. The first thing I would say is autonomy.
Mm,
There we stress agency over thyself a lot in these classes. That actually you, the student, you have more information than anyone else in the room would have, and that we actually, as the instructor, we don't position ourselves as the one that has all the answers, and we actually make that quite clear. And you might say, well, there are other educators and other styles that they, of course, they don't know everything, but we actually say it, we make it clear, we break down all of those walls, and we go, we don't have all of the answers. Actually, we're giving you offerings, right? We're giving
mm,
you
mhm.
offerings. We're offering you suggestions. We're offering you a perspective, and you have agency over how that plays out. And so there's already now this sense of, I can be how I am in this space in a very free way, but it also encourages them to take their learning, take control of their learning process, right? So that's
Yeah.
one way. Another way is that safety release is very different, and definitely in terms of its pedagogy, and
Mhm.
also how we as educators situate ourselves in the classroom. So we are not just in the front. Right. So I remember taking my Cunningham classes and my Graham classes, and I absolutely love those techniques.
Mhm.
Well, Graham hurts my body because I don't have that much flexibility, but I respect it.
Yes.
Um, and the atmosphere of the class is very clear. Instructor in the front, dancers within the studio. We actually, as safety release teachers, we take every class that we teach. We
Mm,
literally take every class that we teach. And we don't situate ourselves in the front, but more so in the middle, on the side, even in the back of the room. Because what we want to get across is that we're actually all in this together, that we're just because I'm here giving a class doesn't mean that I'm also not a student. Which leads me to the next point, is that as the instructor, we often take the mindset of a student and we encourage the students to take the mindset of the teacher.
mhm.
So we want to learn, we're learning as the instructors, and we want to know how are you actually structuring and molding and shaping this information that it's given. And we often as safety release teachers, we often ask answer questions with more questions, sometimes because we really don't know, and we'll say, hey, I don't know.
Mhm.
But we're not afraid to say, you know what, I'm not sure. Oh, I'm feeling this when I do the safety roll, which is a movement in the technique. Sometimes we may have an answer, sometimes we may not have an answer, and we're very clear about that. But we go, maybe let's pose a question that would get both of us thinking. And we also allow we often also shift. We use the 360 kind of dimension of the room. So not everything faces the mirror, right? Not everything is there. There's no clear front. We're moving even within the combinations. We are actually using the body as a map more so than we are the room. And so it also then just transforms the actual dancer because now they are encouraged, unlike in some modern dance techniques that I've studied, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that. We're now encouraged to think about our body as 3D and not 2D because we're not setting up this class as only facing the mirror. I often tell students the mirror is a lie. It is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling you that your front body is all that you have. And no, you have your back body, you have the right side, the left side, and all the circles and all the spirals in between. So yeah, taking a safety release class really shifts and has shifted a lot of minds around how to be in class, how to take class, what a technique class actually is. And I love seeing dancers all the time transform through it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I mean, just listening to it, I'm thinking, no, I want to be in that embodied experience. It sounds like an embodied experience versus this is our goal and this is what we have to reach, and that there is a right or a wrong. And, mentioning the idea of the mirror, my students get very frustrated with me when I pull the curtains over the mirror and they're, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, you're not here in this moment right now. Yes, I am. I'm standing right here. No, you're looking in that mirror and you are having an external perspective of yourself in this moment, which prevents you from going internally and understanding. You're looking at it and you're saying, my arm's not in the right place, versus feeling, oh, I'm not fully extending through my arms. They are dropping and a little slacking as for a lack of better examples right here in this moment. But it
Yeah, yeah,
does, I think the mirror can oftentimes be a barrier for the student in what we call the embodied practice of being fully present in your person and being able to feel what's happening versus being able to see what's happening. And I don't know. I'm really interested to talk to some of these students and just how that environment shifts the way that they see themselves, how it shifts the way they see their instructor. Because some of the things you're saying, I resonate with. I resonate with the mirror. I resonate with there is no front. We talk about that in my class all the time. There is no front, and so I'll start class on a different facing, or we'll create combinations that actively shift through the whole thing so that you're never stationary in one place for too long. And but I found it really interesting, this idea of taking class as an instructor
yeah,
and how the student responds to that. Um,
yeah,
Constantly, I mean, even I am constantly asking my students or telling my students, you have to meet me halfway. This isn't
yeah,
about me coming in here and instructing you. What are you bringing in? How are you showing up? I can't do it for you, these sorts of things. And I feel like from what it sounds, the safety release is not only just saying these things, but embodying them and
yes,
not giving the student an option and not giving the instructor an option. And I thinking back on, I've been teaching various levels, various techniques for 20 years now, and in higher education for about 14. And kind of what that feels like coming in and this idea of having to run the room.
right,
And
right,
it doesn't, I mean, listening to you talk about safety release, it's not about running the room and it's not about necessarily what you are bringing in. You are bringing in yourself, which is this body of knowledge, body of information.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I, I'm just really curious as to what that would feel like, not only as a student, but as an instructor, to not just, I feel surface level at this point. I feel the ideologies that you are speaking, that I'm nodding my head rigorously for those of us who are listening and not seeing. Like, yes, 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 I believe all of this. I'm empowered by all of this. Oh wait, on a surface level. I'm not really sure that I've been able to step into a room and the students experience that environment with me.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely it has been very transformative for definitely for me and for sure for the other safe to release teachers. It keeps us in a position of investigation and
Mm,
exploration and again going back to that word curiosity. Like if you ever take a safe to release class, we're going to say the word curiosity or curious a million times over because that's what it really is about. And I'll say at first it was uncomfortable to be in a teaching a class, being I'm teaching, my young ones, I call them my lovely ladies. They're 7 8 years old. I call them my lovely
oh.
ladies. um, and in a local setting, or if I'm teaching at university or somewhere in between. At first, years ago, it was interesting to kind of position myself in that kind of non-dominant, kind of I'm in the front kind of feel because I was like, are they going to really trust me to lead them?
Mhm, mhm,
Is that going to kind of get in the way of them, seeing me as, the person who is, the instructor? But then I had to go back because all of that starts, because again, being somatic, okay, why am I thinking like that? Why am I already thinking, about the assumptions of people? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but why? And one of the things that I've realized is because I was so used to things being done a certain way that I just accepted them as the end all be all. And then
yes.
and then also, along with that, kind of accepting this is how technique class goes, and this is how how teachers teach. On top of that, it's like, no, it's actually okay to still be learning too. Because why are we
Mhm,
all here? No one has made it. I don't care if you have a PhD, and I'm not disrespecting those who have gone on and pursue that way. That is amazing. I even have aspirations to do that for sure. But even when we have achieved all of these titles, we're still learning. We're still in our process. So then I go, well, this way of positioning myself actually helps me be authentic to where I am in the
mhm,
process. And what I've learned, the impact that it has had on students, is that it actually encourages them around their learning too. Because now they
mhm,
feel safe. Because you got to also think, what are we doing as instructors by dancing and putting ourselves in this particular place? We're putting our quote unquote flaws and our mistakes. I don't every When I go across the floor with doing the combination that I created, I mess up. I don't always get it right. And I laugh about it. I go, "Oh, that's great. Oh,
uh-huh,
that's what we're doing today. Love it." And so the students, because I'm taking class, and I'm not just saying, "Don't worry about the mistakes," but I am embodying that. They go, "Oh, I can do that too." And I
mhm.
also see him after he has quote unquote messed up, carry on. Oh, so it's not so bad to make a mistake. So embodying that in real time is yes, it's for the teacher. You're getting a lot out of it, but it's also spilling over to the students in the room, in which we do all of this for.
Mhm. Yeah, and it seems like the word that comes to mind is allowance, or really permission. Like
That's it.
I'm not just saying that you can make a mistake. I'm giving you permission to make a mistake.
That's it.
And that there will be no judgment and that there will be no repercussions and those sorts of things, which is not always true in all
Correct.
environments, especially when we have a set goal to grow, to achieve, and that growth and achievement is then marked by um juries if you're in that type of situation,
Uh-huh.
or casting, or being moved to the next level. And so we're always reaching for that something, the
That's it.
next best thing. um Yes, I'm just gonna sit here and nod my head like a
Yeah, and it's
bobblehead.
not. Yeah, we're nodding for those who are listening to this. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, we are all nodding along together. So, on this season of Dance Unscripted, we are focused on dance's role in developing and empowering resilience in our community. So, you state that safety release serves as a central framework for examining the role of resilience in contemporary dance education, supporting dancers in responding to challenges with agency, awareness, and sustainable engagement. How, for lack of better
Yeah,
words, but
yeah.
how does this happen? And what, yep, I'm just going to say that. How does this happen?
Yeah. I mean, in so many ways, but I'll go back to what we were just kind of talking about around these ideas of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So, resilience is so important, first of all, as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as a dancer, because this, as you and I know, and those who may be listening to this right now, the pathway of a dance artist is just it comes with its challenges. It does. It comes with its joys and all of that, but it is not without those moments of downs and doubting yourself and questioning, am I good enough? Did I make the right decision? And maybe, I don't know, not pursuing ballet and now I'm pursuing contemporary dance, all the things. It comes with so many challenges, and resilience is the special ingredient to the recipe, and the recipe being wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do. Resilience is that important ingredient. And one of the ways in which, again, through I'll touch on the pedagogical approach, and
Mm-hmm.
then kind of like the one physical example. Pedagogy, speaking from a pedagogically wins. That word is so difficult. Don't edit that
It
out
is.
because I'm not ashamed to say that I can't say that word. But from that perspective, going back to this idea of mistakes. So I always say, like Beyonce said, find your way back. Her song, Find Your Way Back. Big, big world, find your way back. And this is what I mean by that. So when we're going across the floor or we're doing some kind of phrase. It could be something that goes across the floor, something in the center. What tends to happen when dancers forget, they stop. They just
Mm-hmm.
stop. They go. They've been met with a challenge, and the challenge is remembering the combination. And so they just go. Oh, they freeze up, right? And the body holds what? Knowledge. And so now all of a sudden they're tensing up because they know maybe they have a memory of, getting reprimanded because they stopped or they got it wrong. And what we say and Save to Release is that actually, when that happens, again, tap into that agency, tap into the knowledge that's in your body, and find your way back. And we do that through improvisation. So they can be
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever kind of, phrase work. And the moment that they kind of go, oh, I don't know what's going on, we say, just keep moving. Because
Mm-hmm.
at some point, you're going to land. And in fact, every move you make from the moment that you forgot is in and of itself a kind of landing. And it's not about getting like doing the combination. We often say, and people they go, wait, are you serious? Like, you just told me it's okay if I don't do it the exact way that you taught it. Yes, that is so true. Like, you don't, the goal is not to go across the floor and like ace the whole combination. That's great too, but it's more so about experiencing. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
how is that connected to resilience? Because resilient people understand that there are going to be roadblocks, there are going to be challenges, there are going to be all kinds of things that kind of get in the way of us getting to whatever next level or the goal. And the importance is to keep moving forward. It is to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Is to
Mm-hmm.
keep moving on, and in spite of what may be all around and what you may be facing, is that as long as you know that you want to get there, right, in a dance class, you want to get across the floor. Well, you had in your mind one way in which you want to get there, which was by doing the combination the way it was taught. But you're in the middle of the combination and that plan has gone out the window. So what now? Right? What do
Mm-hmm.
you do now? And a person that is embodying this idea of resilience, they always have some kind of plan. Some kind of plan. Doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have to be the perfect plan, because what is the perfect plan? But it's okay. I see this in front of me. I see this challenge. What can I do about it? Let me focus on what I can do about it, and the rest they're gonna exit stage left. And so through that, through that, and we really try to drive that point home, because we're hoping that it does spill into their lives outside of the studio. Can you, being in a vulnerable space in class, not knowing, right, the ins and outs of a particular movement, phrase, or whatever, can you trust what you have, what you know, what you've learned, to the capacity that you have learned it and that you have it and your understanding at the moment? Can you trust that enough to get you to wherever you're trying to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then physically, there's an exercise, and so there's a lot of connection between safety release and Bartenia fundamentals. And a lot of people, they kind of say, oh, well, this is just that played out, but we take it a step forward, and we're really thinking about the cyclical spiral nature of these motions that more or less sometimes happens kind of in place. And we build upon that. But there's an exercise that we do on the floor, and it's called femur rolls or femur fall. And for those who are listening, if you don't know what I just said, I just named the thigh bone, your thigh bone
Yes.
femur. And it's an exercise that it helps you it's basically focusing on the range in your lower body by thinking about the femur, right? Releasing to the ground. And what we say is that it's not about your femur touching the ground as much as it is about just noticing the journey along the way and
Mm-hmm.
realizing, okay, this is the amount of range I have my hips or whatever on this particular day. This is the range I'm working with. That's very important, because what we're doing is we're asking them not to chase an idea, but to deal with reality.
Mm.
And that's really hard for a lot of dancers. Because again, we want to at the top of class for some reason, again, especially my young dancers, they want to have it all. They're ready for jumps as soon as they walk into the room. It's like, no, wait, wait, slow down. That dealing with where you actually are and starting with that, right? How does this connect to resilience? Resilience is all about understanding reality and accepting what is happening in real time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I'm up against, or this is what I'm going through. Like, not ignoring that, but really accepting that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and through accepting where your physical body is, through these exercises that encourage you not to go beyond your flexibility, not to go beyond how much you can move or how fast you can move, or not go beyond any of that, but sit and rest in where you are right now. What we hope is that that's, again, spills over into their lives outside of the studio, that they're able to just accept the reality of whatever their circumstance may be, wherever they may be, to accept it. It's okay that it might not be what you want it to be, sure. But again, as long as you are aware, there's something that can be done. There's always something to be done.
There's always something to be done.
Always.
Absolutely. Always. There's always room.
Yes.
There's always room for possibilities. And
Yes.
having the wherewithal, or having the practice of being able to say, what are my options?
That's it.
And so I think for me, that's kind of where I try to live. I say the artist's life is a curious life, and we've used that word curiosity a lot, and that the point is for it to not be just one way.
That's
And
it.
the lifelong learner mindset that you were talking about earlier of instructors continuing to learn. And I think the way that we continue to do that is by holding on to that curiosity. And something being an administrative role most recently, people ask for things. They ask
All the time.
all
All
the
the
time.
time.
Or it's you representing the whole asking for something on behalf of the group. And so there is this asking that is happening. And we have a saying in my, we'll call it a cohort, department, whatever you, whichever word you want to
Hmm.
use, is it's not no, it's what are my options.
That's it.
And so trying to approach not only, I mean, from a micro level, I'm going across the floor doing this dance combination, and the answer is never no, which would translate to stop. The answer is not
Yep.
stop. The answer is what are my options? And then translating that into more of a macro level where it's this department has come up upon this challenge or this need or this desire, and we might be met with some resistance. But the answer is not no. The answer is what are my options? What are my choices? And having a collective mind that is grounded in that sense of curiosity, I think, is what really propels any idea, group, organization, institution forward. And it's that idea of
Agreed.
forward motion, if you will. And I think that resilience is the idea of forward motion and not necessarily knowing how, but
Absolutely.
what are the options. I mean, this is just mind blown. I'm fascinated.
Yeah, yeah.
I want
And like
in. Sign me up.
listen, no, it's so great. And going back to a wonderful point that you made about, it's not no, but what are my options? I often
Hmm.
say, in um it doesn't matter what kind of room I'm in. It could be I'm teaching a class, or this is a conference, or this or a committee meeting, or whatever. And it's so easy, like you said, it's so easy for us to go, oh no, this can't be done because X, Y, and Z
Hmm.
is da 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 da. And it's like, wait, no, 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 slow down. What about if we piece this apart? We might
Hmm.
find a possibility there, right? What if we actually go, maybe not it as a whole, but there are certain aspects to it that we can pursue. And what that does is, especially in a technique class, it kind of it inspires creativity, and and we like to say this where I'm going to say, innovation, like what is innovation, right?
Yep.
But it inspires that, and it really compels then the dancer in real time to think creatively, because now your perspective around, like you said, like how this is going to happen is going to shift, and you may
Hmm.
not know the ins and outs of that, but because you are curious enough, I told you we say this word a lot, because you are curious enough, right? To the journey, you can then see, well, maybe not that way, but I could do it this way. Or maybe I can move this way. That wasn't really how it was shown, or demonstrated, but this is where I'm at. Possibility, and it keeps you moving forward, because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, moving
Hmm.
forward, seeing that kind of growth. And one more thing I'll say to that is that it then changes what we think that forward motion should look like, and the rate at which it should take. I
Yes.
always say there are no deadlines to growth. I always say we actually get the blessing of having our entire lives, to grow. There isn't a deadline. Even by the end of the semester, and I'm probably going on a tangent here, but like even an assessment and from a safety release perspective, it
Mhm.
is kind of challenging because, you know, a student can get to the end of the semester and they go, oh my gosh, I never did the combination the way you taught it across the floor throughout the entire 16 weeks. And I go, and you still passed.
Mhm.
Congratulations. Why?
Mhm.
Because really and truly, I can piece it all apart, but you got to the end. You
You did.
arrived. You got here, which means now, because I'm not going to be the only person that ever teaches you. I'm just someone along your journey. I've planted a seed within you that I hope will grow. And that
Mhm.
seed has enabled you to get to this far. So now you have things within inside of you because, again, your body is a vessel. You cannot now walk away from what you just experienced. And what you experienced was perseverance. What you experienced was endurance and resilience. And now you can use that as the starting point for wherever you go next. So
Yeah.
just being open to how it all plays out.
This is sorry. I just got big smiles and nodding heads and a loss of words, which is ironic for me. If for the people who are listening who know me in real life, it is very rare that you can snap
Oh,
words out of
wow.
my mouth. I just it is inspiring. It is inspiring to hear and to see that there is a platform to really see the dancers as humans, to see them, accept them
Yes.
for where they are, and for encouraging them on a journey. And that idea, you know,
Yes.
I often say I'm a deadline girl. Give me a deadline and I will have it produced.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
between the day you gave that deadline and the deadline, I make no promises.
No promises.
And so with this
No
idea of
promises.
there is no deadline on our progress, that's something
Yeah.
completely different. That's something
Yeah.
completely different and something that I'm absolutely going to take with me moving forward. Thank you for that, Billy. Thank you so much for bringing this methodology and practice to our audience. It has been a true pleasure getting to know you and how dance can shift a person through this practice. I mean, like I hope that the people who are listening are as inspired as I am because I'm beaming. But we have one more task with our time together, and that is our rapid round. So, if you could please for me finish these two sentences as quickly as you can. So, are
Okay.
you ready?
I'm going to do my best. Here we go.
Sentence number one: resilience is.
Mhm. Resilience is the process by which we become a better us.
That's
I'll
beautiful.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the second sentence is dance has taught me.
Hmm. Um, let's see here. Oh gosh, dance has taught me so much. Dance has taught me that it is actually okay to show up as you. It's actually okay to show up as who you really are.
Mm,
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
Yes. And I am thankful for you. Again, Billy, thank you so much for giving us your time. And I hope that everyone who is listening latches on to safety release and we could start seeing more of this in our studios and in our departments. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for having me. This was just so incredible. And I too do hope that those who are listening to this, walk away empowered. And if those, your listeners who you might want to, get in touch with Safety Release, you can
Yes.
follow us, if I may. You can follow
Yes.
Safety Release on Instagram at Sullivan Safety Release. Sullivan, the last name of the founder, Safety Release. And I'm in charge of all the social media, so you'll be kind of connected with me. But we post regularly on there. We just wrapped up our summer intensive that happened at UNC Greensboro and North Carolina. And then we're getting ready for our winter intensive that happens in December. So if you would like to come on out and experience all of this in person, go ahead and just follow us on social media, and then you'll see all that information posted when it's ready.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. And I do hope
Thank
that
you.
everyone does click and follow.
Yes, yes.
Thank you for joining Billy and me for this episode of Dance Unscripted presented by AIM Dance. I am truly blown away by Billy's energy and inspiring approach to dance pedagogy and how it enhances curiosity, expectations, and perseverance. We all have a need for resilience in our lives to face the expected and unexpected. And we here at AM Dance believe dance has the ability to build this attribute into our lives. You can find links to Billy Hawkins III and Safety Release in our show notes. Be sure to click the subscribe button and share with a friend or colleague. Leave us a review on Spotify and your name will be entered into a drawing for Dance Unscripted merch. We know you could have chosen any platform, but you chose us and you chose dance. And for that, we are incredibly thankful. Season 1 of Dance Unscripted is brought to you by the Lamar University Center for Resiliency.